congestão nasal atrapalha sua noite? Vic Vaporub. Seus vapores aliviam a congestão em 2 minutos.
A lot of Man United fans you'll speak to say we need to get a midfielder as well. We need to get some more quality in midfield. So what should be the priority? Should it be the goalkeeper or a midfielder?
That's a really tough question, just because, like we said there, Tom Heaton is there, and I think he's more than capable to come in and put in great performances. But then again, in midfield as well, I think everyone's saying they need legs, they need more legs in there. And for me, you know, Kobie Mainoo, you know, he's a rising star. He was brilliant breaking onto the scene, and he's just not really got a chance this season, definitely not. But I don't see why he wouldn't be capable to do the job that everyone's crying out for to be done.
Well, I was going to ask you about outgoings, actually, and within that, there was an interesting story in The Sun on Kobie Mainoo.
Yeah, it's a really frustrating situation for Manchester United fans when you see academy graduates potentially depart the football club. You know, Alejandro Garnacho is probably likely to depart, but Kobie Mainoo is a player who it feels isn't in favour under Ruben Amorim. There were a number of opportunities at the weekend where you thought maybe you could get Mainoo on into midfield, but he's not featured for a single minute so far. And at the back end of last season, we didn't see him a huge amount either. And I think there's an understanding the fact that he's been seen as Bruno Fernandes' deputy rather than a player who can play alongside Bruno Fernandes. Clearly, Bruno Fernandes, unless he suffers an injury or a severe lack in form, he's going to be playing centre midfield for Manchester United. So it does look like United would accept suitable offers or be willing to listen to suitable offers for Kobie Mainoo, because clearly they're in a situation now where they want to spend even more money, but they're hampered by the bad business in the past and the inability to offload players for good money. We've seen that in this window already. Jadon Sancho, they can't find him a club. Rasmus Hojlund, that's not been easy so far. Anthony, who they signed for £80 million, they can't find a suitable offer for him. And this would represent pure profit if Kobie Mainoo, an academy graduate, was to depart, but it would be with a heavy heart and it would not be a popular decision amongst United fans.
Guys, a new goalkeeper is closest to being done.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Lammens, you mentioned that there in the transfer update, talks are advancing now. A deal worth around £17.3 million. We're not expecting personal terms to be a problem with this deal. It's the payment structure which is under discussion right now. He was left out of Royal Antwerp's first team for their game at the weekend. They didn't want to risk this big deal for them. Whether or not he comes in and becomes United's number one, we'll wait to see. He's just 23 years of age. Clearly that the Belgian Premier League is a very different beast to the Premier League itself, but clearly United have an issue at the goalkeeper department. Donnarumma was felt as the one that could come in by Manchester United fans anyway and do a job, but clearly that's quite an expensive deal to do. And Kevin Hatchard spoke to us yesterday on Transfer Talk, and he said that Ruben Amorim has been monitoring this player even back when he was at Sporting. So it's clearly a player he likes. It's whether he likes him enough to put him into the first team straight away.
Jeff, what does this mean for Andre Onana? He left out of the 11 again on the weekend. He's fit now. He was on the bench. Do you think his future at Man United is possibly over?
Yeah, it's certainly looking that way. You know, for him to be back fit and not in the starting lineup is a telltale sign. The manager, obviously, they're looking at another keeper. So, yeah, the writing's on the walls a little bit for him.
Feel that way to you?
Feels that way because he missed a lot of pre-season. It would have been really interesting to see where he'd have been if he was fully fit and he was competing with Tom Heaton and Altay Bahindr, whether or not this was always Ruben Amorim's plan, fit or unfit. He would be going into the season with Bahindr as the number one, whilst looking to find another goalkeeper to compete for that position. Andre Onana has been a really disappointing 2 seasons at United. I think there was a lot of hope that he'd come in and the distribution would be good and the goalkeeping would be good, but he cost United in the Champions League in that first season. It was his errors that led them to going out of the Champions League. And last season, whilst there were some impressive moments, still there were constant issues that plagued him throughout his 2 years at United. I don't think Ruben Amorim clearly trusts him. I don't know whether anybody fully trusts Altay Bahindr, but clearly he thinks Bahindr, having trained this season, is a better option than Andre Onana. There's a feeling among some United fans that Tom Heaton, who's there right now, would be a better option than both of them.
But then, if that's the case, if he doesn't trust Onana or Bahindr, then surely you want to go out and get a guy who comes in as the number one, rather than a young guy who comes in to compete.
Yeah, if he doesn't trust the both of them, you're looking for another keeper. And while you're trying to get that other keeper, I'd be with the fans really, and I'd be saying, why not play Tom Heaton? I've personally played with him. I've seen how he prepares for games. He was brilliant for us at Burnley. The saves he'd made, the distribution. So for me, I'd like to see him get a chance, because I think since he's gone there, he's not really had a chance. He's been third choice, second choice, and he's had a fabulous career. So I'd like to see him get a chance, certainly if they don't bring in a keeper.
I think a lot of people thought when Tom Heaton went to Manchester United that it was just about having a nice contract to see out his career, and the fact that he'd just be happy to be a senior player. We've seen it at a number of clubs. The likes of Scott Carson has quite enjoyed having that leadership role. But whenever you hear from Tom Heaton, he wants to be playing football, and he's frustrated with the lack of minutes. I think he deserves an opportunity. I think he's been so brilliant in the Premier League. He's still got plenty to give. I think he's a reliable set of hands. And I think the United defenders would much rather have Tom Heaton there than maybe the other two goalkeepers.
Mina, let's start with Rasmus Hojlund, shall we? Because he's wanted by Napoli, and it looks like it could be getting close. But is it going to take a significant investment to get him there?
It is very close, and it is a significant investment, but it's one that Antonio Conte has been so strong about, because obviously he lost Kvaratskhelia and he wasn't adequately replaced. So it caused a little bit of tension at the time with between Conte and the Napoli ownership. So he's put his foot down. He's lost Romelu Lukaku for at least 3 months, and he's only been left with Lorenzo Luca. So he desperately needs a striker up front, and Hojlund fits the bill. It would be a 5 million loan deal, approximately, and then 40 million to purchase the player outright after that. Of course, the deal hinges on whether or not everyone is happy with the fact that this is without an obligation to buy. So I think that Hojlund was a little bit upset about that. He wants to know that his future is clear, and that if he does well enough, that he can stay. And I think that looks like it's being resolved right now. So he will be purchased outright if certain appearances or obligations are met. Then he will be a Napoli player for the future.
Okay, interesting stuff. So Hojlund, one of the players that Manchester United would be happy to leave in the summer. Jadon Sancho, of course, is another one. Now, it looked like a move to Roma might happen. Then we heard that Sancho himself wasn't particularly happy with the move. Is this something that could be revived?
Well, it looks so, because Roma director Frederic Massara is in London right now, and he's going to meet with Jadon Sancho, as well as Chelsea winger Tyreek George. So this is the player, they actually share the same agent. So there's been a bit of a weird thing going on with Roma, because Massara, the director, has said that there's no motivation on behalf of Jadon Sancho to really push this deal forward and try to make the move happen to Roma. Now, Gasperini, who was the coach of Roma at the time, said, well, he didn't say no to us, so he didn't reject Roma. This deal, there is still a possibility for it. So you don't know who to believe. He didn't actually say no, but he's not really doing much to push the deal forward either. So in order to resolve this all, Frederic Massara is in London today. He will meet with Jadon Sancho to try to see whether a move can happen. If not, then he will try to make moves for the Chelsea young winger. So let's see what happens there. But Sancho has got to want to really go there, because I think that if he goes and then plays under Gasperini, this could be a great move for him, akin to something of what McTominay's experienced at Napoli under Conte.
When a team changes manager and the dust settles following the initial hysteria, often one of the first questions to be asked is which players will benefit most from the new man's arrival. If a manager can start to get a tune out of an expensive recruit who has so far failed to prove their worth, they've instant credit in the bank from fans and those within the club's hierarchy.
Mas você ainda defende uma pessoa que ganha mais, mesmo estudando menos do que outra?
Não defendo uma pessoa que ganha mais.
But there's a lot more to it than they played well under them before, and so this time should be no different. Take Erik ten Hag's arrival at United as an example. The Dutchman was keen to surround himself with home comforts, regularly targeting players either from, or who had spent time in, the Eredivisie. Yet, having inherited a player he had coached previously at Ajax in Donny van de Beek, he failed to get the best out of the midfield.
Latina procurou quem? A V4. Foi a V4 que impulsionou o marketing da Spotify na América Latina. Mas o mais interessante é que a V4 faz de tudo, do alfinete ao foguete. E ao mesmo tempo que a gente impulsiona o marketing de gigantes do mercado, como essas que você viu agora, que faturam milhões ao mês, a gente também trabalha na alavancagem de pequenos negócios, que faturam acima de 100 mil reais ao mês, por exemplo. Um caso específico é o da rede de empresas do grupo Lammens, especializadas em estética. Eles chegaram aqui faturando cerca de 60 mil reais, uma exceção, porque hoje só trabalhamos com empresas que faturam acima de 100 mil, e até alguns meses atrás, esse grupo já estava faturando mais de 700 mil reais por mês. Um crescimento de 12 vezes. No momento que você está vendo esse vídeo, provavelmente esse número já aumentou. Mas como que a gente faz isso? A V4 tem franquias de equipes de marketing especializadas em performance de vendas. Quando uma empresa entra aqui, a gente aloca uma dessas equipes para executar os serviços que ela contratou. É como ter o próprio time de marketing, só que sem toda aquela burocracia envolvida. Você não vai ter que fazer contratações nem se preocupar com o desenvolvimento dessas pessoas. Nós cuidamos de tudo o que o seu negócio precisa para vender mais com a internet, usando as melhores tecnologias do mercado. Se sua empresa já fatura acima de 100 mil reais ao mês, ela está pronta para receber um time de marketing da V4 Company. É só clicar aqui abaixo para saber mais.